Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another webinar presentation. This is done in collaboration with the Kawartha Sexual Assault Center and Niche Trinidad Anishinaabe Quelaag Service Circle. To briefly go around and introduce ourselves, I'll just start. My name is Alicia Fisher. I'm the Prevention Education Supervisor with the Kawartha Sexual Assault Center. Lucas?
Awesome. And hi, I'm Lucas Schaefer. I'm a male support and ally leader at the Kawartha Sexual Assault Center.
Courtney?
Oh, thank you.
My name is Courtney. I am a student at Fleming College and I am working with KSAC. I'm learning from them. I'm watching Alicia and Lucas give this presentation and I'm just learning all this information and along with everybody else.
Amazing. And Melissa?
Anine, good morning. I'm Melissa. I'm from Niche Trinidad Anishinaabe Quelaag Services Circle, and I am the Aboriginal Healthy Babies, Healthy Children worker, and I'm super happy to be here with you guys today. Miigwech.
Fabulous. Let's get started here. So this is all about mental health supports for grades 4 through 6. So what are we going to be discussing today? We're each going to talk a little bit about who we are and what we do with our agencies. We're going to distinguish between mental health and mental illness. We're going to talk about how our emotional challenges through life can impact our mental health. We're going to watch a video and it's going to show some students that are navigating mental health and their self-care strategies. We'll look at our own self-care strategies and wrap up with supports and resources and conclusions. So a little bit about who the Kawartha Sexual Assault Center is. So we are located in Peterborough. We serve the areas of Peterborough, Kawartha Lakes, Haliburton, and Northumberland, and we support all individuals who are impacted by sexual and gender-based violence. We offer individual and group counseling sessions for youth, adults, and survivors, as well as their supporters. So we do offer support for partners of people who have experienced sexual assault or sexual violence, parents, families, educators. So we really do provide that full-rounded support. We also offer advocacy and accompaniment. So if you are going to be reporting or needing support at the hospital or with the court, we do offer that accompaniment as well as peer support. So if you're looking for someone to talk to who is more of a peer as opposed to a counselor, we do offer that as well. On the other side, we offer public education, where we speak to folks just like we are now about a variety of topics that can be connected to sexual violence. And then Lucas runs a specific program for males. Do you want to talk briefly about that?
Thanks so much, Alicia. So at the program on the public education side of things, we run a program called the Mending Program, where we engage men in ending gender-based violence. And how we do that is we get people together and talk about what gender-based violence is, what is sexual violence. We talk about where the ideas of being a man come from and how that affects us and how we affect other people. We talk about consent, and then we talk about the ways in which we can intervene in opportunities of harm that we see in our everyday lives. At the end of the program, we talk about how we can teach this to ourselves and also to the people that we know in our everyday lives. And if you're interested in some of those topics, we have a healthy masculinity webinar this Friday. So tune in and check that out if you're interested.
Fabulous. And we also have an incredible partner agency that's here with us today.
Awesome. So like I said before, I'm from Niche Trinidad Anishinaabe Quelaag Services Circle. So we're a non-for-profit organization that serves Indigenous women and their families who've been abused, at risk of being abused, or currently being abused. And we do healing work through traditional Anishinaabe teachings and healing methods, I suppose, and we also blend it with Western ways as well. So we have different programs. My program's Healthy Babies. We have Youth in Transition, Transitional Housing Support Worker, Short-Term Counselor, and Long-Term Counselor. So we serve, like Kawartha Sexual Assault Center, a very, very big area. So we serve Peterborough, Northumberland, Haliburton, Durham region, Kawartha Lakes. So we have a really big catchment area. We also have a really cool youth group that's available, which there'll be some information on the last slide there. So yeah, feel free to check it out. Miigwech.
Amazing, thank you. So when we transfer over to talking about mental health, what we want you all to recognize is that all of us deal with mental health. All of us, we all have mental health because mental health is our brains. It's how our brains identify feelings and emotions and how we go through that day to day. But when we move to more of the challenge side of things, that's where we see approximately 1 in 5 children and youth in Ontario are dealing with mental health challenges. And when we look at adults, 70% of them had mental health challenges that started in childhood and youth. So it's really important to not only understand what mental health is and the differences between mental health and mental illness, but also understand ways in which that you can take care of yourself and not just take care of your body, but your mind as well. And so we'll discuss more of that. So mental health versus mental illness. Lucas, would you like to go into this one?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alicia. Yeah, so the definition that we're going to be sharing with you folks today is that mental health is the state of your mind with its feelings and emotions, right? Just like how our bodies can have great days and bad days, so can our mental health, so can our heads, right? With some of the faces that are featured on the screen, we can kind of imagine ourselves like where if we have a emotion or a day that makes us feel like the face on the bottom right, that would probably be a more rough day. Maybe we're aggravated, maybe we're frustrated, right? All these different kinds of tough emotions. And something that Alicia pointed out in a previous presentation when we were talking about this topic is that sometimes we can have different expressions based on like what we're having in our head. So sometimes we can feel like the bottom right corner face, but actually look like the top middle face. Yeah, so thanks so much for that, Alicia.
Yeah, Melissa, do you have anything to add to that mental health there?
I think that's a really good definition. And it's important to recognize that, you're not alone if you're suffering with mental health. There are supports and there are other people who, are able to be there to support you and connect you where you need to be.
Certainly. So then we work our way into more mental illness and the differences with that. Courtney, did you want to go ahead with that?
Sure. So while we all have mental health, and that's always there, that can be positive feelings or negative feelings. Mental illness is different. So mental illness affects a person's ability to function over a more long period of time. Mental health, you can have good days and bad days, but mental illness is something that sticks for a longer period of time. So it's not the same as feeling sad, unhappy, or stressed. Mental illness, people that experience mental illness feel distressed regularly and may not feel like they're in control of their lives.
Certainly. And so the reason why mental health and physical health is important is because they both can positively and negatively influence each other. So if you're watching the replay, maybe you can pause this and talk about how does our physical health positively and negatively impact our mental health. So if, as a quick example, if our physical health, if we don't get a good sleep because we're up on our phones all night, that's going to impact our mental health the next day. We may be tired, we may be a little bit irritable, maybe a little bit sassy because we're tired, right? Because our physical health is impacting our mental health. And then there's also times where our mental health impacts our physical health. So when we are feeling sad and stressed out, that may impact our physical health, that we may not want to be as active as usual. So these are really connected forces in our life, and we need to take both very seriously, right? The same way that we get treated for our physical health. So if we scrape our knee or break our arm, we get Band-Aids and cast and maybe even medicine to help with the pain. And it's the same thing with mental health, is that sometimes we need that medicine and treatment to help heal ourselves. So we'll go a little bit more into that in a bit. So what leads to these emotional changes? Emotions can definitely change day to day. Maybe Lucas, you can talk about how the weather quickly could impact our emotional health. Absolutely,
Alicia, right? Just so like as Alicia was talking about, the weather can affect how we feel and then how we act that day. I'm going to be acting differently and motivated to do different things if I wake up to a bright, sunshiny day rather than if I'm waking up to like a dark, gloomy, looks like it's going to rain day, right? So even the weather can affect like how we feel and what we're prepared for and what we want to do that day.
Certainly. Courtney, can you talk about friends and how friends can impact our mental health?
Yeah, so every friendship looks different too. So, we have really good friendships. We have some friendships that maybe they're just a classmate and it's not as strong. Different friendships look different. And how that friendship looks one day can be different another day. So maybe one day you're feeling like you're really close with someone, and then the next day maybe they're kind of distant, and that makes you feel sad. Friends can be great as support systems. You can talk to your friends about your regular day-to-day mental health. But if you are feeling like maybe you do have a mental illness, maybe a friend can be somebody to talk to. Friends are great because when you're around people, you can feel more happy, more excited, more willing to do fun things. But some people can find being around friends more challenging. Maybe when you're around lots of people, that is stressful for you. So yeah, everybody's different.
Great. Media and our phones can certainly impact our mental health, especially if we see a lot of images that make us feel sad. So, 2020, with COVID and the pandemic happening, right? So constantly seeing that information can, even though that's in a virtual space, can certainly impact our mental health. It can also be really positive. If we watch the corgi dogs kind of like bouncing around and smiling and stuff like that, that could be a really positive thing. For the next one, maybe Melissa, could you talk about changes in our lives? So
Yeah.
like moving, yeah.
Absolutely. So moving can be a really big change that can really affect our mental health. Change isn't always easy for us, especially during COVID. Like this is a really big change for us, not being able to socially interact, and and even school looks different, and feel like knowing that you're not alone in moving, and the changes that you're feeling, like it's a normal process. You have to get used to the new idea of being in a new place, a new way of going to school. It's a new way of living that we're in right now, so it's important to realize that you're not alone, and that there there are going to be better things happening soon, hopefully. So
Yeah. No, that's great. Definitely. Yeah. And then sometimes our brain can actually lead to mental changes or changes in our mental health. Lucas, do you want to talk about how our brain on the inside of our body can impact our mental health?
100%, yeah. So I think something that we've been hitting on a lot with like the different things that can lead to emotional changes is that people differ, right? And one of the ways that people differ are in the way in which like our brain is set up, right? Like sometimes people are going to be experiencing challenges that you probably wouldn't have to worry about in a certain day. People who are like as we talked about before with like mental illnesses like anxiety or depression are going to be very affected by those mental illnesses, right? And that's going to lead into emotional changes and also behavioral changes, right?
Certainly, yeah. And then something else that can impact our emotions is the loss of a family member, of a friend, of a pet. That loss could most certainly impact our day to day. And that loss is not something that we see on people's sleeves or on T-shirts, etc. But that loss can be something that we deal with internally, right? Another thing that Melissa was mentioning was school and how school can impact our mental health. Maybe Courtney, as a student, do you want to talk about how school can be positive and negative?
Yeah, so school can definitely be a positive thing. You can go, you can meet new friends, meet teachers, get good connections with people, you learn, but school can also be a stressful time, not just with homework and with tests, because that's certainly stressful. And I think that that's something that's stressful for most people. Um, but also other challenges of school too, right? So maybe fitting in with friend groups, or maybe school is a place where you feel anxious or nervous, or maybe there's somebody at school that doesn't treat you properly and that makes you sad. There's lots of different aspects of school because we're surrounded by so many people. So school looks different for everyone, and school can be both positive and can be both negative.
Certainly, yeah. Melissa, maybe do you want to talk about the last one about how our family and even our pets could influence our mental health?
Yeah, with family, sometimes we can have feelings of anxiousness and stuff like that around our parents, because the biggest thing about mental illness is it's inside, and it's not so easily, seen as like a cut or a bruise or a scrape. So, it's about being open and being comfortable and feeling safe within your family, to be able to tell your parents. And sometimes animals they definitely are great therapy for mental illness, and being able to support us and cuddle us and know when we need them. And siblings can be sometimes stressful, depends on the relationship you have, most definitely. So it's just all about, like, things that happen at home could be affecting your overall mental health. And yeah, just being able to, feel supported and feel loved, and have the support of your family is really, really important.
Fabulous, excellent. So now we're going to watch a video, and this video actually goes through a bunch of different experiences of students, and you can listen to not only what those students are struggling with when they're with their mental health, but also how they are able to overcome those challenges. So pay attention to both of those here.
You can't tell how someone feels just by looking at them or what they share online. To the outside world, our lives may look perfect, even if in reality they aren't. I'm always worrying about doing well at school, and with the end of year test coming up, I'm not sure how much longer I can cope. My thoughts swarm around my head, sometimes keeping me up all night. Some days it's just all too much, and I feel like I'm lost in space. When I did badly on one of my tests, I just about kept it together until I got home. Then I broke down crying in front of my mum. She listened for a bit, and then she told me that, just like physical health, we all have mental health. It's our feelings, our thinking, our emotions, and our moods. She then said that feeling down, angry, and stressed is a normal part of life, just like it's normal to feel happy, confident, and carefree sometimes. We all have positive and negative emotions that come and go based on what's happening around us. These are everyday feelings. Good mental health means experiencing negative emotions. It's not always about being happy. Mum can relate to the feelings of stress. So when Mum suggested I take a break from everything and do something I enjoy, I actually took her advice. So I made myself a hot chocolate, snuggled up in a duvet and watched a film. And you know what? Afterwards, I felt so much better. Mum should take her own advice.
Whoop, there we go. Okay, perfect. I was like, I can't hear. Okay, so from that video and listening to Sasha, like dealing with a test that didn't go as planned is something that most certainly happens. I know I can put my hand up that I've dealt with a bad test. Yeah, Luke. Yeah, we've got nods all across the board here. So these are things that inevitably, unfortunately, will happen in our lives. But it's really important that we work on our mental health just as much as we work on our physical health. So when we're feeling sad or upset or frustrated, like what Sasha was with that test, it's really important that we do something about it, right? And that we're proactive, because when we don't do anything about it, that could make things worse. It can make things bubble up inside, and then it could lead to more damaging things, like lead to mental illness. So we're going to go over a couple different strategies on how we can kind of connect our minds and our bodies back together. And so the first one is about connecting with nature. So one of the exercises we talk about is the 5 senses exercise, right? And so going over things that we can see, hear, smell, taste, touch. I think I got them all, right? Yeah. And so, if you go outside, what are 5 things that you can see? So I know I've got a beautiful cedar tree outside, and I'm noticing that it's green in some parts and more yellow in other parts just because of fall, right? And this is a transition. And when I look at the trunk of the tree, some of the bark is really smooth and some is really bumpy. So you can go through 5 different things that you can see and really bring those out in detail. You can do 4 things that you can hear. So, you know, I can hear an airplane going by right now. And so I can tell how close the airplane is by how loud it is. So really paying attention to those different sounds. 3 things that you can feel. So whether that's physically feel with your body or things that you're emotionally feeling, right? So if you're standing on the ground, you can feel how your feet are standing and what parts of your feet are touching the ground. Is it soft? Is it hard? You can talk about the feeling of the wind on your face. You can also, you do 2 things that you can smell. So, you know, I just had breakfast and so I'm smelling Pop-Tarts and stuff like that, right? And so really identifying those smells, and then 1 thing that you can taste. And, you know, I'm not saying you have to go lick trees and stuff like that to see how they taste, but just really paying attention to your senses. Maybe Melissa, you can talk more about that connection to nature.
Absolutely. So that's kind of interesting that we have a picture of a tree, because I do an exercise with some of my clients where you go out and you have a therapeutic relationship with a tree. So you simply put your technology away, you know, your cell phones, whatever, your MP3 players, whatever you have, and you just be connected with the tree. So at all times, you have one part of your body connected to the tree, whether it's your leg, your arm, you know, your back, and you just be there and you be mindful and you listen to what the tree says to you. Especially with Anishinaabe people, we have such a big connection to the land, and you know, we're in the tree kind of symbolizes ourselves. You know, like our trunk is our roots and our values and our ethics, and our branches are the different paths that we go through in life. You know, the different chapters of our stories. And you know, especially in fall, it's such a beautiful time, because although we struggle, like I know myself personally, with change, fall just goes to show how beautiful change can be, you know, and that the leaves change colors and they fall to the ground and they provide a safe place for animals. And you know, we come back every year, we just keep building ourselves up, and it's all about really being mindful and being connected, and you know, just being present. I think that's the biggest thing.
Certainly. And so then when we're connecting with ourselves, we can use a variety of different breathing strategies. Maybe Lucas, you can take us through why breathing is important, not only for living, but for our mental health, but also a square breathing exercise.
Thanks so much, Alicia. Yeah, so besides being able to keep on going and keep growing, as Melissa was talking about before, breathing can help calm us down, right? Sometimes when we're really caught up in our own heads, maybe we're feeling stressed or anxious, taking time to take a deep breath through your mouth and through your nose, in through your mouth and out through your nose, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Is it vice versa? My bad.
In through the nose, out through the mouth,
out through your mouth.
Yeah.
That can really calm us down and kind of remind us to sit in the moment, right, and feel something, and let feelings just kind of happen. And if you want to be more conscious about your breathing, one technique that we can do is draw a square, either with like a pencil on a piece of paper, or with our fingers just in the air. So as we go up, we breathe in through our nose. As we go across, we breathe out through our mouth. As we go down, breathe through our nose. And as we go across, breathe through our mouth. And that just brings us into the moment and just allows us to think about our breathing, as opposed to the many things that could be flying through our heads at that moment, and giving us time.
Certainly, thank you. And then a third way that we can reconnect, especially and acknowledge mental health, is when we talk about a thing called resiliency. So the ability to bounce back from tough situations. And one of the top ways that we can bounce back is really have good nurturing relationships with other people. Now, obviously, that our connections with other people has really changed within the last 6 months, right? And so we have to think about different ways that we can stay connected with the people in our lives, and really being cognizant and understanding of who are those people. And so thinking about our family, our friends, our siblings, our pets, extended folks like our extended family and maybe people that you haven't talked to in a while. Maybe Melissa, you can talk more about that connection for other people and with our friends and everyone.
Absolutely. Yeah. Being connected, especially during this global pandemic, is really, really important. And services and relationships look different, and being able to have good, healthy relationships. I think that's important to recognize, is the healthy relationships and understanding what unhealthy and healthy look like. And being able to have a solid support system, especially in this time of, social distancing and, self-isolation. We really need to have those good connections and, be able to rely on people when we're having those moments. It's really, really important.
Certainly. Thank you so much. So who can we talk to if we're needing help, if we're needing support, if we're dealing with some mental health? Who can we talk to? So we can look to even our teachers, connect to our teachers, or maybe guidance counselors or people within the school that you can talk to, principals, etc. There's also your family. And so talking to your family could really help. Like we saw Sasha, who did a really brave thing and talked to her mom about, hey, like I've had this really horrible test happen, and now I'm feeling really upset. I'm having a million thoughts going through my head. And so that was a really brave thing for Sasha to do. And she had a really great family who really supported her. As I mentioned too, sometimes talking to medical health professionals or even just counseling professionals can help with mental health, especially if it's something that we do need treatment for, right? Like, as I said, with physical health, sometimes we need that extra bandage to help with the healing process. Same thing with our mental health sometimes. There's also Kids Help Phone that you can talk to. Now, this is for people ages 5 to 20 years of age. It's just someone that you can talk to really about anything that you're feeling. There's also support called Good to Talk. Now, this is for in Canada between ages 17 to 25. So it is a little bit older, but it is a talk line that you can talk with people for support. There's also Indigenous healing people that you can talk to, and they have a 24-hour texting, online chat, as well as a phone line, and then even reaching out to our friends. Now, there's only so much that our friends can do and our friends can support and help with. So sometimes we do need to turn to those trusted adults when we're needing someone to talk to. Melissa, is there anyone else that you can think of that people to talk to?
Somebody in your community, speaking from like a Anishinaabe point of view, like an elder, seeking some guidance from them. What could be a traditional knowledge holder, could be, a counselor, whether it's a counselor through Nijigwinda, stuff like that. And I really liked the point in the video too, where Sasha was like, maybe my mom needs to practice self-care. I really liked that because I think it's important, when we get to a point where we're, the helping type of people and we're helping others, it's important to also practice and do those things in our own lives. It's important to take care of ourselves.
No, definitely, for sure. Maybe as I get the presentation up, because the slide has disappeared, maybe we can talk about our own self-care strategies and things that really work for us. Maybe I can just start with Courtney. I apologize here.
No, that's fine. Sure. So something that I do for self-care, I like to be active. So sometimes I'll go, to the gym, or I used to dance a lot. Sometimes I'll have a little dance party in my room, but sometimes I don't feel like being really active. Sometimes I'm tired. So I'll read, or if I don't want to read, I want to make my own story. I can journal or just something up completely and write a little story about that.
Yeah, Lucas?
Yeah, some things I do when I'm needing time to kind of just wind down is I spend time with my cat Frankie. He's a lovely long-haired cat, and whenever I'm in my living room and I sit down, he always greets me, and that really takes me out of my own mind, and I get to take a break.
Yeah,
Melissa?
Melissa.
All right. So I do a lot of crafting. So beading is my therapeutic activity. I like to do cooking as well, or going for long drives with the music cranked up. And my cats, I agree, Lucas, our animals are great therapy. I've got 2 cats that love to always be featured in my Zoom videos, and a little puppy at my feet there. So definitely animals are good therapy as well.
Mm-hmm. And so, you know, self-care can look really different for every single person. Sasha went and got her favorite cup of hot chocolate, went and sat on the couch, got her favorite blanket, and watched one of her favorite TV shows. That could be a way to practice self-care as well. And sorry, I'm just gonna then get the other presentation open. Just the way things go, right?
Minor technical difficulties.
There we go. So let's wrap things up with what did we learn here as we're at time. So Courtney, do you want to go ahead with the first one there?
Sure. So the first thing that we talked about when we started this presentation was the difference between mental health and mental illness. So remembering that mental health is something that everyone has, like physical health, mental health is something that we all have.
Yeah, Lucas?
Yeah, and to go off what Courtney was talking about, mental health is just as important as physical health. Just like how we can keep our body healthy, we can also keep our mind healthy, right? So whether that be like practicing some of the breathing exercises that we talked about before, or finding out what you need to do for self-care. These are all ways that we can keep our mental health great. Yeah.
And it's okay to have good days and bad days, right? Like just like what Melissa was referring to with the changing of the season, these are things that happen. And so it's okay to have those bad days. It's okay to acknowledge that. And it's also okay to take time for yourself. And then Melissa, maybe you can talk about the next point, which kind of talks about the changing of the seasons.
Absolutely. So our mental health is impacted by a lot of things. Like some of the other points are our mental health is just as important as our physical health. So the weather, the change of the seasons, also the things that we put into our body, like the foods we eat, whether we drink a lot of pop or juice, stuff like that. Nurturing our body, it's very, very important. It's very important.
Mm-hmm. And it's certainly important to talk to someone about our feelings, right? It doesn't make us any less of a person to deal with bad things. It doesn't make us any less of a man if we need to cry, if we need to release that emotion, and it's really important to do so. So just to wrap things up, if you are an educator, we do appreciate if you are able to fill out that survey that was connected to the schedule and the email that was sent out, and then some further support. So at the Kawartha Sexual Assault Center, we have 3 24/7 crisis support services. So we have our texting, our phone, and our online support. So if you're wanting to learn more about KSAC or you can't remember those numbers, no problem. You can head on over to our website, kawarthasexualassaultcenter.com, and there is where you get connected to all the 24/7 crisis supports, as well as the services that we provide. And Melissa, did you want to talk about the youth group that's being offered with Shannon at Niche?
Absolutely. So Shannon is our youth and transition worker. So my program goes 0 to 6, and Shannon's goes, I believe it's 16 to 24. So, but we're able to provide support for clients in between those ages. So one of the things that Shannon has to keep the youth connected is a youth group. So she's having multiple different series about like traditional teachings, self-care, the grandfather teachings, how we can incorporate that in our lives, doing some therapeutic art such as beading and shakers. So it's going to be a really good group. It's completely free to come on. You just have to reach out. Shannon's number's on there, her email, and our phone number as well. So that's a really good opportunity to stay connected and to learn different ways of knowing and understanding for sure.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Lucas, Courtney, and Melissa, for joining today and to talk about mental health. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good day.
Take care.